Let me share with you the main strategies that helped us to build up defense and security system, and then to defend ourselves, and then to win the war. So the war that we were faced can be said that it was like a playing chess with the four different chess tables in a simultaneous way, and with the results that one move on one chessboard influencing positively or negatively moves on the other board. Uh, those four chess tables were kinetic war, because we have to also to run the war, kinetic war, like you are doing unfortunately now. Second one was a diplomatic war, because we were not internationally recognized state, so we have to find partners and friends in an international community that will support us for the idea to accept the dissolution of Yugoslavia and recognition of the independent and sovereign states of Slovenia and Croatia, and later the other states. The third one and fourth chess tables are little bit connected within themselves. So the third one is internal cohesion, try to find a unity around the main strategic idea and grand strategy of Republic of Croatia, to defend and to establish a new democratic and sovereign country, and to break up with the communist regime and communist mentality and everything that was connecting us with Balkan society, Balkanization, and this kind of opinion and thinking. And fourth one were information or cognitive operation. That's what we are talking now. Because in the first phases of the war, in end of 80s and beginning of 1990, for example, we were faced with many significant disinformation campaigns and activities planned and run by the Serbian and Yugoslavian authorities. At that time, just to remind you, what was the situation when we took the power in 1990, after the first free democratic elections in former Yugoslavia. So Yugoslavian People's Army had approximately 65% of the officers within the Yugoslav army were Serbs. That means it was almost 200% more than there was a number of the Serbs within Yugoslavia. And Croats, there was around 12% of the Croats, of the officers of Yugoslavian People's Army. That means 60% less than it was the number of the Croats in former Yugoslavia. It's a significant numbers, because many of them were Yugoslavs by the idea. So we were not able to count for more than 10 or 15% of the former officers of the Yugoslavian army that were ethnically Croats, in order to establish our defense system. Second, what is also important for us when we took the power after the elections in May 1990, the only intelligence and security structure was the Republic State Security Service that was active within the Republic of Croatia. The national composition of this agency was that there was 51% of Croats within this agency, intelligence, 51%, despite the fact that was almost 80% of the Croats lived in Croatia. And Serbs and Yugoslavs, they were also against us, there was a 45%, despite the fact that only 14% of them that lived in Yugoslavia, in that time Yugoslavia. It means more than 600% more that they were part of the society. So this is very, very important to know, because in the 1980s, and especially in the first phase of our homeland war for independence, we were in defending position. We have to fight against the significant activities of the Serbian malicious disinformation activities in national area, in the media, in Croatia, in Yugoslavia, and abroad. We did not have any kind of institution, we did not have any kind of the organization, we did not have any kind of the connections, but we managed to do it. How? Because we have a clear instructions by the president. There was a clear and undoubted strategy, and we reached the position that we can say, yes, we are united. We are very significant and important to run the one voice policy in those first phases of the war. So we were faced in those 1990 with two strategies: Yugoslavian strategy that wanted to reestablish the communism, to stop the democratic processes, and the Serbian strategy that wanted to get rid of the Slovenes outside of Yugoslavia, but to leave the Croatia but only in a smaller part, and to unite all the Serbs where Serb lives. And there was a third strategy that was on the move, trying to connect the Bosnian or Bosniak Muslims national strategy with Serbs in order to keep Yugoslavia preserved. So what we did, it was as I said, four strategies with the four different chessboards that were internally connected. We didn't know how many players there are on those chessboards. We didn't know which figures they have. We didn't know how they are connected with themselves, and we didn't know which moves they are going to do and what are going to be internal connections and activities between them, and which kind of consequences we are going to be faced with as a players in Croatia. So we decided to run and to establish reorganize the existing intelligence service that was part of the communist structure, and to democratize and to equip with the human capital that was devoted to the interest of the establishment of the independent Republic of Croatia without any connections with the former Yugoslavian regime, because at that time there was no internet at that time, what is very, very important, and many of the influence operations and disinformation activities were planned, executed, and distributed in national and international media area by the agents and the activities of the Serbian Yugoslavian intelligence agencies. So what we did was some kind, let's say, establish rules that can be act today as a rules for the effective stratcom or fighting disinformation. So it means be first, be fast, and be honest. Because if you lie, for example, what we see now for years in Russian disinformation activities and Serbian now against us, those lies most of those lies are easily recognizable, and it's easy to fight against them. You have to be fast and you have to be honest, because you have to create a situation that you become a reliable and trustworthy as the source of information. Then, when we were faced in the first phases of our defending war with the significant activities, excuse me, that brought us in a very defending and challenging situation. There was many accusations that we were faced with, that we committed crimes, like it was said in the case of Ukraine. For example, in several cases, Serbs accused us that we committed several crimes in some areas that they occupied after intensive battles, and it was used for them as some kind of the approval for the crimes that they are going to do, despite the fact that the information that we committed crimes was a fake news or disinformation. Second thing, the narratives. They like to use, as you heard it in this movie, children. They like every time they act against the emotions of the recipients of these disinformation activities. And in most cases, we proved very fast that this is not honest. This is not the truth. What we did was and you did it also in your first phases, to establish international connections. Therefore, it was make a group of experts that were available for 24/7, and it was necessary to establish the information management system, communication channel management, and time management, because it's not the same if you are going to publish information 5 minutes before or 5 minutes later. It might be too early or too late. And what we learned is, especially in a second phase, when we reach the position that we can be in a role to have an active defense somewhere at the end of 91 and beginning of 92, and up to the middle of 93, we decided, okay, we are now fighting against the source, not only with the content, and what we want to do is we want to make a control. We want to make a trends. We want to test the narratives. We want to be the one who are going to create the story, not the follow. So in 94 and especially 95 and 96, we were successful because we took the power of initiative. And that was most important, because the other sides were in position to follow the narratives that we conducted. We decided there are several rules that we decided that have to be applied and have to be respected. In the informational domain, does not accept does not follow. We were not following the rules that acts in the kinetic or on the war domain. So we have to do it with information operations, influence, communication channels, and everything that was possible to be done in order to create the initiative, in order to create the status of information supremacy. For example, in one of several of our last military kinetic operations, we did not hide that we are going to start the operation, because we said we use the narrative and the possibility and reality that the Serbs realized and accepted the fact that all of the battles in last 4 years they lost against us. We decided to use it. We said, okay, tomorrow we are going to start the operation. If you want to wait us, wait. If you don't want to wait, if you want to wait us, then just tell us how many black bags we have to carry on with us. So it was some kind of the psyops, and this is what we wanted to do. So we were not fighting against the enemy's disinformation activities. We were fighting for information, against information, with information, and in the same time protecting our information and communication systems. One of the main important things that we used it in this battle was the strategic intelligence, because our intelligence community was developed mainly by the new guys, new persons that were experts. They were patriots. They were ready to sacrifice their lives for the country and for the people and for the constitution and for the democracy. And therefore we said, if they are like this, so they are going to be excellent. They should be excellent intelligence officers. So we were able to reach the strategic intelligence that we used as a support for bringing the strategic advantages and information superiority. For us, it was a little bit easier than for the others to reach the information superiority, because we knew the context, we knew situation, cultural, historical, and interconnection and intertwinable situation and relations between different factors on this area. And it was easier for us to penetrate with the human and with SIGINT. For example, you can imagine the situation that you might be in a position that you have a position for a phone surveillance of Vladimir Putin for years. That's what we did. Since beginning of 91, we were able to have a phone surveillance of almost all of the communications of that time Serbian president until the 2000. So during all the war, we were able to listen in real time his phone conversation with his closest associates. So what we decided is the strategy of rational and realistic movements. So continuity of interaction and communication openness with our partners and friends, strategically solving the problems in recognizing and solving and defining the priorities. I'm talking about the information operations, of course, and neutralize our enemy, our opponent by isolation. We also use these information activities in order to do this. When we did it, it was excellent. So most of those things you are doing now. And unfortunately, what I see is that you lost what we spoke when Mrs. Gumba was in Zagreb, the one voice policy. And this is something that was expected to be done, because every time when situation on the area is little bit different that was expected, then that's the excellent field for planting up different disinformation activities. Second, when I was recently in Kiev, I saw that there is a possibility that the veteran population might become one of the vectors and influence of the disinformation activities of the Russia. And this is something that you have to take special care of it. Because in our cases, it was also a case when Serbs tried to do it in a way to divide the society using the veteran association. They spread through their information network that veterans should receive much more help and support by the country for which they were ready to die. On the other side, and growing dissatisfaction within the veterans to the society and to the state. On the other side, they spread many disinformations in the public against the veterans, saying they have too much power, they have too much positive results of now when they are retired or when they are invalids or when they are veterans, because it looks like that they were fighting for the privileges, not for the states. And sometimes it comes to the fertile soil, and that's the way how those divisions starts. Fortunately, we were ready to recognize it. We were ready to this, and we established the veteran centers. We established, or we helped the founders and real veterans to establish the organization where they can unite veterans, they can become a supportive part of the society, and so that they can be resilient against those kind of disinformations. Unfortunately, you are not always successful 100%. Sometimes you have this situation that some of the veteran association or some of the uh, persons come up with trying to cause the problems, but veterans recognize them that within themselves, and they are able, they are aware of those kind of things, and that's what are they doing, trying to build up this societal resilience. And that's most important thing what has to be done in the future. Because without the homeland security concept approach, it means whole of society approach. War can be run and one is run only by kinetic force. But what I'm speaking about, not only in Ukraine, but also within the Croatia and within the NATO and EU, Ukraine has to fight on two different fronts, kinetic and non-kinetic, because you have to run the war. You have to defend yourself. You have to liberate your country. We will try to help you as much as we can. But the most important thing, what we have to do is to fight for our information superiority, to keep our information environment protected by the Russian and pro-Russian disinformation activities in order to keep the clean support for the defense of Ukraine. And this is very demanding situation. Therefore, we are trying to connect with as much as we can with similar institutions and organizations and civil society organizations within EU and within the NATO in order to support it and to bring up the network that will build up resilience of the society against the pro-Russian and Russian disinformation activities. Unfortunately, they are ready to buy, they are ready to pay, they are ready to invest a lot of money in order to create negative effects in the political elections and referendum activities and to divide societies. We see it in several cases in countries, we see it in some areas, but uh, never surrender. That's the most important thing. There is no such a thing like mission impossible. It's always a question of time. It's a question of resources. It's a question of knowledge, and at the end, most important thing about the humans. If we are ready to fight, if we are ready to defend, nobody can be no. There is no aggressor that can win. We were very efficient. For example, after the Operation Storm in the August '95, you could feel if you were in Croatia at that time. I was a high-ranking officer. You can feel the power of national trust and confidence within the society and within to the army. It was so strong. But we decided for a peaceful reintegration. We wanted to spare our lives, spare the lives of our society. And 50 years, I'm not talking about the future negotiation and communication process that will be established in time that is in front of us. I don't want to say that it's going to be in 1 month or 1 year, but 50 years in the life of a state is nothing if it's going to be at the end positive process that you are going to be able to reintegrate fully your temporarily occupied areas. At that time also, it's important to keep the information environment under your control, and not just your information environment, but with the help of the partners and friends information environment of the partner and ally countries, but not only NATO and EU member states and allies, but also in the third countries. Because now, as you can see, it's important to fight for the integrity of the Germany, and integrity of political sovereignty and information integrity for several countries within the, let's say, how they call it, global south, because this is the only way how to completely isolate your enemy, how to isolate Russia, because without support that gives Russia enough money to run this war, they're not going to be not going to be easily to be won. So disconnect them from the global south, disconnect as much as it's going possible from with China and India, because with North Korea you can't do it. This is something completely different.